Hello everyone and welcome to my new video podcast, The Cody Miller Show. This is what I hope to be the ultimate swimming related show where we talk about all things revolving around the world of swimming. That's current events, breaking stories, results, training, tips, tricks, and some non-related swimming stuff as well. Like whatever you all want to talk about, my regular viewers, my regular vlog followers, anyone in the swimming world that is interested in all this kind of stuff, that's what we're here to talk about. And we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, lots of exciting news happening in the world of swimming right now. Regan Smith announced she's leaving and moving to Arizona to train under Bob Bowman. Chase Kalish and Jay Litherland, sorry Jay, I just butchered your name on camera, and Jay Litherland, I can't do it, are also moving. They're leaving Georgia. There's a whole lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, how do I come up with the main topics of the show? It's really simple. It comes from you, the viewers. You submit your questions to me. If you have a topic or a question or a news story, swimming or non-swimming related, mostly swimming related though, that you want me to discuss on the show, it's really easy. You just fire me an email to codymillershow@gmail.com. That's codymillershow@gmail.com. And then maybe you'll get your question answered on my show. Before we dive into the first question, gotta say, I've been saying that I'm gonna start this new weekly video podcast for a while, and it's finally happening now. This room is nowhere near done or close to where I wanted it to be when I started this. That's neither here nor there. Things are literally being held up by duct tape. My audio is a little wonky. I'm just kind of scraping things together with paper clips right now, but eventually it's gonna look really, really good in here. And I do have things on the wall finally that you can't see back there, but I'll do like a full tour video soon. But thank you all for being patient, because a lot of you have been asking for, hey, when is the podcast coming? When is this coming? Well, I'm just doing it, even though I'm like not really ready. Like we had a crazy water leak. This whole wall was pretty much destroyed. This whole ceiling I had to replace. There's just been a lot going on, but I'm finally getting into it. We're finally doing it. So enough on that. Let's go ahead and dive into our first main topic of the day. And our first topic comes from Jeremy from New York. And Jeremy writes, "Greetings, Cody. Have you seen the news about Olympic gold medalist Chase Kalish and silver medalist Jay Litherland? Both are moving to Arizona to train under Bob Bowman in preparation for Paris 2024. With Leon Marchand being the new top dog, will having so many studs in one single 400 IM training group be too much? Could it be detrimental to one or all of them? P.S. I love the YouTube channel. Excited about the new video podcast. Thanks." Whew, all right. Thank you so much for that submission, Jeremy. And yes, I remember a few months back when I was at, some of my foam just fell off. You see that? All this foam being held up by duct tape. I don't have the we're gonna get back into the topic here. I was in Georgia for a competition talking to Chase, and he said, yeah, I'm thinking about moving. Jay and I are thinking about moving, and I wasn't sure it was gonna happen, but it's finally happening. ASU, Bob Bowman is assembling one of the most amazing pro groups that we've ever seen. It's certainly going to be the powerhouse pro group of this up-and-coming generation as we lead into the Paris Olympics. And your question is a good one. Is all three of these 400 IMers training together a good idea? Will it work out well for them? Because a lot of times we've seen in sports, and particularly in swimming, where you get a bunch of alphas or a bunch of people who are competing for the same spots on an Olympic team or vying for the same medals in the same events. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And let's go ahead and break down this training group. First of all, Leon Marchand just went 4:04 on the 400 IM. He's definitively the favorite to win the Olympic gold medal in Paris 2024, and he's likely to break the world record. So he's the next up-and-comer, right? You have Chase Kalish, who won the gold medal in 2020, and 5 years earlier, he won the silver medal at the Rio Olympics. I was there to watch. That was an amazing swim. And you have Jay Litherland, who got second to him at the most recent Olympics. So you've got three of the best 400 IMers in the world training together. And sometimes having people like that together is too much, right? It's too much of a mental toll to train with what is essentially your rival. I think that this group is going to work out really well. I think that these people are going to mesh really well, and it's going to benefit all of them. And here's why. First of all, Leon is a super nice kid, obviously ruthlessly competitive, and is the big up-and-comer. But I've only talked to him a couple times, but he seems like a kid who doesn't really have a big ego. He seems like a kid who's just kind of putting his head down, doing the work, and is like along for the ride, right? He's just going to let Bob tell him what to do, and he's just going to do it and not think too much of it, you know? Chase would be the first person to tell you years and years ago that he might have rubbed some people on the national team, the U.S. national team, the wrong way, just because, you know, he was overly confident and a bit cocky, which a lot of us are, a lot of high-level athletes are. But he has really grown and matured a lot the last few years and has really kind of squashed that ego. Like, I think, you know, 5 years after winning silver, winning the gold medal, like achieving his lifelong dream, like he's done it. And he's been in a position in his career the last year where he's not really certain of what his future is going to be. You know, I've talked to him about, you know, whether he was going to start a new job and kind of stop swimming or this and that. And it looks like he's going to continue and keep going on, which is great. But I think he recognizes the situation that, like, you know, Leon, this dude is the future. And now it's a matter of, like, how good can I be at this age? And Jay is one of the most, like, laid back, chill, easygoing dudes that I've ever met. You know, one of the guys that's just always in a good mood, easy to be around, like absolutely no ego, like no problems whatsoever. That's Jay. So these three training together, I don't really see having any issues. Like, if anything, they're just going to benefit each other. You know, they know what they're getting, right? Like, Chase swam for Coach Bob Bowman for many, many years. Jay has been on numerous national team trips leading into a World Championships and Olympics, or a Pan-Pacific Championships, or any kind of big meet where he is trained with under Bowman. Like, he knows what he's getting. Like, they know what they're getting themselves into. And sometimes you see people who are racing the same events and they kind of butt heads, and it's not healthy to be reminded of, hey, this is the guy that, like, might take my Olympic spot away from me. But given the experience of Jay and Chase, and given, you know, the kind of person that Leon seems to be, I think that group is going to work out really, really well. I'm excited to see how it goes. I've said in previous videos that, you know, I think Leon will probably break the world record next year in the 400 IM. You know, one of the world records that I thought was really untouchable. If you were to look at all of the swimming world records and say, hey, what record is going to stand the longest? What world record is unattainable? I always thought that Michael Phelps's 400 IM world record was probably the most unattainable, or an argument could be made that it is one of the most unattainable events. And then Leon went 404 at World Championships. So it's going to be fun to watch him swim. And, you know, with Jay and Chase getting older, but them coming together, a new training environment, new group of friends, that could be really good to kind of spruce things up. And sometimes that's what people need. So that is really, really exciting. So yeah, to answer your question, I think it's going to work out great. The question really is, how good is Leon going to get? Like, how much faster can he get? I could make an argument, and I might make a video on this, on Leon's first NCAA season, his first NCAA championships. He had one of the best meets I've ever seen anyone have in my life. And that's when I think a lot of us who pay close attention to the swimming world knew that Leon was going to really pop off. Particularly here in the United States, where we swim short course yards, because I know all my international viewers, sometimes you see yards times, you're like, that means nothing to me. I get it, but humor me for a minute. Leon went 138 in the 200-yard IM, which is mind-blowingly fast. He split an 18 mid in the 50-yard freestyle on a relay. He went 148 in the 200 breaststroke, winning the 200 breaststroke at NCAAs. And his 400 IM was, I mean, it just, anyway, you could look at that meet as I did and say, okay, and it kind of flew under the radar and just go, okay, that's one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen. We should probably dive into that eventually. But anyway, thank you so much for the question. Let's move on to our next topic. And topic number 2 of today comes to us from Sarah from Palm Springs. I love Palm Springs. And Sarah writes, hey Cody, I just read online that world record holder Regan Smith is leaving Stanford and turning pro. Is this a smart move for Regan? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts from a longtime viewer of the vlog. P.S. Your 2 boys are adorable. Thanks. All right, thank you so much, Sarah, for that question. And yeah, this is really the news story that kind of rocked the world, because You know, Jay and Chase moving out to ASU to train under Bowman, you know, they've both graduated. They're both professionals. They're much older in their career. Regan is still young. She's only like 20 years old, and she only swam for Stanford for, I believe, 1 year. So she swam 1 year and then was like, peace, I'm out. And when I saw that news, I was like, wow, this is a big deal. Like, this is certainly going to ruffle some feathers. And your question on how do I feel about it? Okay. I have a few different schools of thought. On the one hand, Regan is the first person that I know of in the new era of the NIL, where collegiate athletes can now, you know, they can now sign endorsement deals. They can now make money to a certain degree. And so it looks as if this isn't something that is necessarily about endorsements and money, although that's obviously a big part of it. Like when Missy Franklin swam 2 years at Cal Berkeley and then decided to turn pro and then sign endorsement deals, I looked at that like, okay, Missy is already one of the greatest swimmers ever. She won multiple gold medals, you know, she set the world record, and now she swam 2 years in college and then she turned pro. And I looked at that situation like, okay, how much better can she get? How much longer can she ride this out? And what is the cost of her turning down the remainder of her college, right? Because like in Reagan's example, 4 years at Stanford, that's like over $60,000 a year being on full scholarship. So we're talking $250,000 in tuition at one of the most prestigious schools in the world. And she's not just transferring to another school to swim in the NCAA. She's turning pro and just saying no to school altogether. So to me, it's like you're turning down a massive education in the pursuit of solely focusing on being, you know, the best female swimmer in the world, which she very much could be. Like, she has that potential. I think she's looking at, you know, her performance at the last Olympics, although by most people's standards, amazing, right? Multiple Olympic medals at one Olympic Games. She's won multiple World Championship gold medals. I mean, she is a crazy accomplished swimmer already. But I'm thinking she's looking at that like, okay, I should be winning multiple gold medals, right? Like, I should be the best, and it's just not quite good enough for her. So that's probably the driving force for her deciding to go, you know what? Bob is going to give me what I think I need to be the absolute best. And if that's what she needs, that's great. It's just, will it work out for her? Time will tell. I don't know. I'm really excited to see. She is ruthlessly competitive, works really hard. She's actually an Indiana girl, so I remember seeing her at age group meets like years ago, swimming. And the big thing is the college thing. Like, it's hard for me to get on board with someone turning down like a full scholarship at a big school like a Stanford. Like that hurts me, because the value of that, although I hated school and I wasn't the best student, I value education and getting a degree from those kinds of places. So I don't really know, but I'm very psyched to see how everyone in this new ASU training group really turns out. I think she might break a world record. I think she might. It'll be interesting to see. But anyway, what do you all think? What do you think about Regan moving? Like, is this a mistake? You know, obviously Stanford has a really good women's team. Obviously Greg, the coach she's leaving, first of all, he's a super nice guy. I really like the guy a lot. But he's also an incredibly accomplished coach. But this is also, there's a little bit of a track record there, right? Like, there have been a number of swimmers that have come in, swam a few years, and then turned pro. I mean, that's what Ledecky did, and that was in the plan, though. We knew that she wasn't going to go all 4 years. That was, you know, that was discussed beforehand. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Is she gonna crush it at ASU? Is she gonna get better? I mean, time will tell. I really hope so, because I love watching her swim. She's awesome, but I guess we'll see. And thank you so much for the questions, Sarah. Now we're moving on to topic number 3. I'm kind of sweating a little bit because I got these lights. You see that? Anyway. All right, and topic number 3 comes to us from Roy from Australia. And Roy writes, "Hi Cody, longtime fan. Recently I read an article about the pros and cons of 50s of stroke being added to the Olympics. I've got to say, I think they should be added. What do you think? Are you for it or against it? I hope my question becomes a main topic. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for the best part of the day." The best part of the day. Thank you. I see what you did there. Thank you so much. Okay. This is something that I feel like all swimmers have talked about at one point or another. Why don't they add 50s to the Olympics? Like, why not? And I saw this email submission from Roy, and I pulled up the article. It was on Swimming World. And let's see, it was written by Daniel Zhang. And I wanted to know, okay, what are the cons? Because to me, when I look at this, there's so many pros. I mean, first of all, if you want swimming to mature as a true professional sport, you need to provide as much opportunity for older swimmers to continue competing. And what better way than to let people compete for 50s of breaststroke or 50s of butterfly? That just makes sense, right? The older people can continue to compete in those events. It just makes sense. But I wanted to know, like, what are the cons against this? Like, if someone was to say, hey, I don't think they should add it, like, why not? Because, you know, let me pull this up. I read this and it says, okay, the argument for not adding the other 350s, there's no tradition. I'm going to read this to you directly. Some say that the swimmers won't pay much attention to these swims since they don't have an Olympic history. That seems like nonsense to me. 50s of stroke are like one of the most exciting things to watch, period. Any meet that happens to have them, people are watching. Many of these athletes qualify for the Olympics in multiple events and would not place attention on the 50s at the expense of lesser performance in primary events. Okay, that sentence right there is assuming that someone's primary event would not be the 50 that they qualified in, would not be the 50 butterfly that they qualified in, right? Like, I think a guy like Michael Caddick or Caleb Dressel would argue that the 50 fly would be a primary, like I think that's a nonsensical argument. I mean, certainly there have been cases where a swimmer makes an event that is not their primary event, but they get to swim that event anyways. That does not mean that it is a lesser event or that there's less focus on it. Anyway, okay, the next one, not medal worthy. That's what it says, not medal worthy. Putting them on the event program, meaning the 50s on the event program, would seemingly diminish the worth of a medal. There is already a debate that swimming has too many events and that the addition of the 50s of stroke would enhance this argument. Not medal worthy. So is the 50 freestyle not medal worthy? Is the 50 freestyle medal not just as valid as any other event? Obviously it is. I don't see how 100% of people wouldn't agree with that. So why would a 50 of breaststroke or butterfly be any less medal worthy? Just because there's no tradition. That's a nonsensical argument to me. And then at the bottom of this argument, of the article, it says, with the 2024 Olympic Games less than 2 years away, the schedule already announced the 50s of stroke are out for the Paris program. The next possibility would be the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. That would be sweet. That would be really cool if in Los Angeles we finally got 50s of stroke. Okay, those are just nonsensical arguments. Obviously the pros that they're written here, it's proven to work. I mean, people love watching Caleb Dressel, Sarah Soistrom, Adam Peaty, Lily King swim the 50s. Continued competition. Like I said, they give the example of Brazil's Nicolas Santos, who is the world record holder in the 50-meter butterfly. I mean, he's almost 40 years old and he's still medaling in the 50 fly at world championship meets. So you're going to have older athletes that are going to be able to keep on going. And that's a whole nother storyline. As people get older, how much can they hang on? You know, when Anthony Irvin won the gold medal in Rio, 16 years after he had won the Olympic gold medal in that event prior, you know, in the middle of his 30s. That's one of the coolest sports stories ever. You know, that's like one of the coolest things ever. And Tony's a super cool and unique guy. But like, you know, adding 50s of stroke would allow more things like that to happen, which is awesome. And here's one thing that I really want to highlight that the article talks about, a pro for adding 50s of stroke. More nations can send athletes. Not all people, I'm reading directly from the article, not all people are as fortunate as most in the developed world to have ready access to 50-meter pools, even with the access to a lake or a body of water. The training is not the same. For all if all four 50s were added, developing countries and those looking to grow the sport could send athletes able to, so essentially it's easier to train and prepare for a sprint race than for a 100-meter race or a 200-meter race. I'm not saying it's easier to compete at a high level in those events easier compared. Okay, what I'm saying is if you're trying to get good at something, training for a 50 freestyle, training for a 50 breaststroke, it's easier for people who have, you know, less experience in the training of the swimming world, or less resources at their disposal, which some of the developing countries, you know, have. You know, a lot of times we'll see at FINA World Championships, the first few heats of an event, by most of the swimming world standards, those times done by those swimmers are not necessarily, they're not very fast. Some would consider those times not being worthy of being at a world championships because they're just not at a competitive level. But I don't agree with that. I think that someone from every nation should be allowed to compete regardless of, you know, regardless of their ability, as long as they meet a certain threshold, right? As long as they meet a certain cut. Like there's a cutoff time that someone should have to meet, but as long as they meet that. But with the 50s, you know, it would probably be more competitive. That gap would be smaller. So anyway, yeah, I totally think obviously they should add 50s of stroke to the Olympics. It would be awesome. It would make it way more exciting to watch. And also, my biggest argument for them adding it, the Olympics have had a slow decline in their viewership, particularly after like the Rio Olympics with Michael Phelps retiring, right? There's no way around it. You know, when a major event loses their star, people start to lose interest, right? When Tiger Woods isn't playing golf, the Golf Channel or NBC, whoever's broadcasting the Masters or the US Open, they get 50% less viewership. That's just a fact. And the Olympics did not have as good a viewership, and the Winter Olympics have really been suffering. And so the question is, okay, what do people want to watch? How do we get viewership? How do we get more people interested in these events? Well, we know, being in this world, that people like sprints. People like to watch the 50-meter dash and running, right? They love it. We love watching those things. And adding 50s of stroke is just adding things that people want to watch, and adding more medals for, you know, other countries to compete for. It's just, it could only increase the viewership. That's just a fact. Adding more high-level swimming events at the Olympics that are exciting. No knock on distance swimmers. I love watching myself a good competitive mile, or I love watching Katie Ledecky crush the field just as much as anybody else. But the fact of the matter is, the regular public who view these competitions once every 4 years, they want to watch those exciting tight races, right? Where there's hundreds of a second difference, and that's what the 50s of stroke would provide. So enough on that. Let me know what you guys think down below. Am I missing something? Is there another reason why they shouldn't add 50s of stroke? Let me know what you all think in the comments section below. Thank you. Thank you, Roy, for that submission. And now let's move on to topic number 4. And topic number 4 comes to us from Jemmy from Rome. And Jemmy, I hope I'm saying your name right, Jemmy writes, David Popovici has suddenly become the most impressive swimmer on the planet. He's my new favorite swimmer to watch, aside from Mr. Miller in his vlogs, of course. Aw, thank you. What are your thoughts on David and his future in the sport? Thanks for making swimming so much fun, Cody. I hope my question makes the show. All right, thank you for that submission, Jemmy. And yes, David Popovici, I'm probably not saying his name right, but if you have ever watched any of my videos, you know that I am an idiot and I say things wrong. I apologize for that. Go ahead and correct me if I'm saying it wrong, and I'll try to do better. But yes, David, one of the most impressive World Championships performance of this last year. He's been 47-1 multiple times. He went an insane time in the 200-meter freestyle. I mean, this guy is the next up-and-comer. There's no doubt about it in the freestyle events. The question is, how good can he be? How good can he be? How good can he get? He has been sub 48, that amazing 48-second barrier in the 100 freestyle, 10 times. And I don't even think he's 18 years old yet. It would be interesting to see the other sprinting greats, like a guy like a Nathan Adrian, a guy like a Caleb Dressel, a guy like a James Magnuson, how many times they broke the 48-second barrier. I'm sure a guy like Nathan broke it a lot. But how many times they did it before the age of 18 or 19 years old, like that is crazy. Because the 100-meter freestyle is typically an event where people mature when they get, into their 20s, 21, 22, a little bit older. So the fact that he went 47-13 at Worlds just a few months ago at age 17 is amazing. And his stroke is so beautiful. And by the way, by the time I'm filming this, he might have swam this event at European Championships, which will be happening. Will be happening right now, but he might have already swam this event. So there is a real possibility that he breaks this world record. He went 47-13 just a couple months ago. So can he repeat? The world record is held by Cesar Cielo at 46.9. That record has stood since 2009. We've had a number of people close. Caleb has been close. Kyle Chalmers has been close. Who is going to finally break it? Like, will Caleb finally snag it? Will David finally snag it? That's one of the most exciting things to watch with the 100 freestyle. But what's impressive about David is just how quickly he has accelerated in the sport and how quickly he jumped out. 2021 juniors is when I first saw that he went like 47.5. Yeah, European juniors, here we go. 47.56 at European juniors at like age 16. That is insane. I don't know if he's got to have the junior world record going that time, but how fast can he get? I'll tell you what, the world record in the men's 200 freestyle is another event that I thought this may never get broken, right? Who could go 142.0 in the 200 freestyle? Because talk about events that have hit peak maturity where we've kind of seen, here's the benchmark for what human performance and human potential is, and this is like the range where high-level elite males kind of float around 144, 145. You rarely see someone go 143. Only 2 people have ever gone 142. And both were in ridiculous full-body super suits. So the fact that David went 143.2 in the 200-meter freestyle is mind-blowing and leads a lot of people, myself included, to believe that he's got a legit shot at going 140. I can't even really say it, but going 141 in the 200-meter freestyle. He's really tall, like he's like 6'5", and he's really lengthy. I'm wondering if he puts on a little bit of muscle, how that would affect his swimming, because sometimes guys bulk up a little bit and it doesn't correlate the way that you might think. So that's going to be interesting. I read an article, I can't remember if it was in Swim World or Swim Swam, where he was quoted where they were talking about the expectations that are now put on him after his radical success of this last season. And this is what he said. I found it. He said, "Yeah, I'm fully aware of what's coming now. This is the hardest part. Even harder than preparing for the World Championships and performing there as well," Popovici said. "But I have good people around me who will protect me and guide me through this phase so I can still focus on swimming. The only pressure I feel is that now I'm the leader of our national team and I'm supposed to motivate the others and lead our guys, which is something new. But I've accepted this role and what comes from it." That statement right there from David is incredibly wise and understanding, and it seems like he has a level of understanding that a lot of 18-year-olds don't. Like, watching his interviews, he seems very, very intelligent. Whereas, when I was a swimmer at 18 years old, I was an idiot. I was like a deer in the headlights and didn't know what the heck was going on. So he says he's got a good group of people around him supporting him. It is always interesting seeing what happens after someone explodes onto the international scene, immediately becomes the #1 favorite in a certain event or number of events, and now has a large target on their back, and how they handle that pressure. That is one of the most exciting things in sport. And that obviously separates good swimmers from the people that really make the history books. And I'm excited to see how fast he goes. I'm excited to see how fast he goes. So what do you all think? Will David break the world record in one of those events? Is he going to shatter records at Europeans, next summer at Worlds, maybe the Olympics? What do you all think? Am I missing something? Let me know in the comments below. All right, let's move on now to topic number 5. And topic number 5 comes from Yuki from Egypt. Yuki, I hope I'm saying your name right, friend. It says, I see you've recently been on vacation and have taken a little break from the swimming vlogs. I was so happy to see you back in the pool again in last week's vlog. Can you give us a life update? What have you been up to? And what do you have coming up this year? I hope your family is well. Thank you for being a great ambassador for my favorite sport. Live long and prosper. I see what you did there. Live long and prosper. That is a Star Trek reference for all of you nerds who also know what the things are behind me, all the nerdy stuff. But yeah, okay, so life update. I've had a lot going on. I've taken a few weeks of just casual swimming. Like Lily, for example, has taken like 7 weeks out of the water right now. She needed a long extended break coming off of 5 years of training instead of 4 or 5 years of training. You know, and then the ISL season after the Olympics and all that. I hate getting out of shape. So even in my off time, I'll swim a few times a week. I'm doing a lot of CrossFit, doing a lot of running. But yeah, I've made some editorial videos on my YouTube channel because I haven't been going to the pool regularly. Plus the Indiana swim team is on break right now, the team that I train with. They all are getting started later next week. So we'll be resume regular training here pretty soon. But yeah, I have done a little bit of traveling with Allie, spent a lot of time with the boys. Recently, we went to the Bahamas, and Lily and Annie Leeser and I did a swim clinic for some of the swimmers in the Bahamas, and that was a lot of fun. Obviously, vacation was really fun. You know, we took a sailboat around the island in the Bahamas. We got to go diving for conch. Is it conch or conch? Because I heard people pronounce it twice, but those are the big shells. I posted a photo of it on my Instagram, and you pull it out, and then you chop it up, and you put it in salad and stuff, and it was delicious. So had a lot of fun there. I've been helping Allie get her classroom ready. Allie took a new teaching job. She's now teaching high-level 6th grade math, and she has a Harry Potter themed classroom. And so we spent a lot of time building like a big whomping willow tree in the corner of her classroom. I made a big Dementor out of just giant sheets of black paper. Like giant sheets of black paper. I kind of crumbled them up and rolled them together and made this big Dementor. And Allie's mom made like this big spider. So, you know, we've been getting her classroom all set up. She's excited to get, you know, she just started teaching again this week. In fact, today, the day I'm recording this, is her first day with students back. So, but yeah, we've taken a little bit of a vacation. I think it's good to take breaks. It's good to take time away. I just hate the feeling of getting out of shape, because I think getting out of shape and swimming is one of like the most painful things. And there's like 2 aspects to that, right? There's the feeling of like your feel. We just call it, you know, you lose your feel for the water. And then there's that aerobic fitness, because I'll tell you what, I do a ton of running and a ton of biking. I'm in pretty good cardio shape, but getting in the pool is just something different. My capacity, like I'll give you an example. My big meet this summer that I competed at was World Championship Trials, and it was earlier in the summer. It was in like May, like late April. I think it was like the last week of April. And ever since then, I've basically been on break, where I swim a few times a week. I do a bit of, you know, I lift some weights, I do some CrossFit, I go rock climbing, I go biking. So I stay super physically fit. But even now, months out of my last competition, I haven't been in a traditional swim training regimen. Is that the right word? Regimen? Routine. And I'll go to the pool and I'll do a little bit of warm up, and I can power through a few 50s pace, like really well, like pretty close to what I would be satisfied with if I was in good racing condition. But my capacity is greatly diminished. Like my ability to do repeats, my ability to do, you know, 50s on a minute fast after a few, I really trail off. Like that capacity is just has really fallen through, even though I am like really fit and really active. So that's interesting. It's going to be fun to see how as I transition out of being a high-level competitive swimmer, and I plan to keep racing for a number of years, especially at trials at 2024, which will certainly be a topic on the show. Having Olympic trials at Lucas Oil Stadium, the football stadium, we'll definitely get into that. But it'll be interesting as I transition into like a professional master swimmer, and maybe I'll go to some masters meets. I actually would love to do that. I've had a number of master swimmers ask if that's something I want to do. The answer is yes, like definitely, because I mean, not even just the competitive aspect. Like I love being a competitor and a racer and that mindset, but more just having something to look forward to in the very back of my memory bank when I go to the pool. Like I enjoy going to the pool, I enjoy working hard, but not having a goal right now, that's like the biggest thing that I've struggled with, is like I'm not training for anything other than to just be in shape and have like a healthy lifestyle, and like that has been a process of me like getting used to that, and that's been interesting. So anyway, that's a little bit of my life update. Things are good, got nothing to complain about. I'm excited to get back into training soon. I'm excited to get back into like more of a normal routine, but I'm also doing a fair amount of traveling. Like I am doing a number of swim clinics and banquets and speaking events that I find super fun. I have over the years worked really hard at becoming a better public speaker, because it's one thing for me to get on YouTube where I can edit myself down, and make myself look better, or if I screw up, I can do it again. It's different with this format, with the podcast, where this is just me rambling for like an hour, and I hope to get better at staying on topic as I'm jumping around topics right now, as I'm like bouncing back and forth. But anyway, I have worked really hard at becoming a better public speaker, particularly for events like swimming banquets, different kinds of companies that have hired me for speaking events, and for swim clinics. Like I love going and doing swim clinics. So I am doing a number of those right now while I don't have any major competitions that I'm training for. So if you would like to book me for a clinic, just fire me an email at this, codymillershow@gmail.com, or my contact email in my bio on my Instagram. The Table Rock management one, that's fine. Or it's just Table Rock now, the Table Rock email. But I've worked really hard at, taking some of my big life experiences, things that have been really awesome, like winning medals and all this stuff, and then also some of my big pitfalls and really difficult things that I've been through over years, and kind of crafting that into a narrative and into a fun journey for me to tell in the format of like a speech. And I think I've gotten pretty good at it, and it's been a lot of fun. So anyway, yeah, that's my little life update. Things are good, but I am looking forward to getting back on track. And speaking of getting back on track, topic number 6. Let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, topic number 6 comes to us today from Natalie from London. And Natalie writes, "Hello, Cody. I know you're a big movie fan. I love when you mention what shows you're watching in your vlog. I was wondering, with COVID being mostly behind us and movie theaters back in business, what are some of your favorite movies of 2022 so far? Or are you binging any new shows? I know the show is mostly swimming, but I hope to hear your thoughts on this as well. Fingers crossed." All right, thank you, Natalie from London. London is one place I've actually never been, so I'd like to go there someday. Movies. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the best things post-COVID was being able to go back to the movie theater. Oh my goodness. Not the first time I went back to the theater, but one of the first times was a few months back in March. I believe it was March of this year. There was a USA Swimming Pro Series meet in Chicago. And that's just, a rock throw away for me. So me and Lily and Annie and a bunch of my teammates, we drove up to Chicago together for this competition. And if any of you have watched my vlog regularly, you might know where this is going, but right when I got there, I got really sick. So I had to scratch the meet, And basically just, I sat in my hotel for like 3 days, like all cooped up. And, you know, I got COVID tested and flu tested and all that stuff. And then finally just like, it went away. And turns out I caught one of the bugs that was going around my Axel's daycare. I got an email about that. So, but anyway, on like my 4th day, when I was all good, everything was, I was much better. I'd just been basically hotel quarantined for days. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go to the pool because I can't compete, but I'm gonna get out. And there was a movie theater across the street from my hotel. So I went across the street and I saw the best double feature that I have seen in a very long time. I went and saw the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, the Matt Reeves directed Batman movie, which I loved. And then after the really dark, ominous, harsh Batman movie, I watched Johnny Knoxville's ridiculously silly Jackass 4, which brought me back to my childhood because in high school I used to watch the Jackass show on MTV. And that was a blast, man. That was fun. So those are 2 of the more fun movies. I'm a super nerd. Anybody that has followed me for a while knows that. One of my all-time favorite movies ever was The Dark Knight. I saw it 6 times in theaters at the Red Rock Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, mostly in IMAX. And to this up until seeing the new Batman, I hadn't felt the same way I felt coming out of that theater the first time, like so amazed at what I had just seen, because that Batman movie was so different and unique from any other kind of Batman movie that we'd seen. You know what I mean? Like if you're not even remotely interested in Batman, just hear me out for a second. You'd think of Batman as this guy who just beats up criminals and is really rugged and it's kind of an action movie, but this movie is much more of a gritty crime noir thriller where Batman is a detective solving these murders. I mean, it's just very different, and I really, really loved it. So Batman, I had a list on my phone when I saw this question. I was like, what other movies have I seen? Allie and I went and saw the new Top Gun. Top Gun Maverick was awesome. I mean, that movie it was just awesome. It's just a fun movie. I saw the new Thor movie. Obviously, I love all the Marvel stuff. That was a good one. And I watched the Rescue Rangers movie on Disney Plus with Axel, and I loved it. I love when there are movies about animated characters that live in an animated world and then cross over and live in the real world with humans. Very Roger Rabbit-esque. One of maybe my all-time favorite movie ever is Who Framed Roger Rabbit from 1989. Directed by Robert Zemeckis. Oh, love that movie. But Roger Rabbit is a cartoon character who's framed for murder. And anyway, Rescue Rangers is like kind of like that. And I used to watch the Rescue Rangers TV show when I was younger. And so I was like, man, I hope this doesn't suck. As I turned it on, I'm like, this might suck. Straight to Disney Plus. But I really, really loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. As far as TV shows go, I've been really busy. Haven't really watched a whole lot. But Allie and I watched... we watched the Obi-Wan show. Once again, just nerd stuff, guys. I mean, I liked the Obi-Wan show, didn't love it. I liked it. There's that new Apple Plus show about the people doing the whole brain split thing. I'm trying to remember what that show was called. Hang on, let me pull that one up. Oh, Severance. I loved Severance. One of my favorite comedy shows of all time was Nathan For You, which is super cringe humor, right? You have awkward humor, like The Office is very awkward humor. It's that third-hand awkwardness that you feel, it just makes you cringe. Nathan For You is that in real life situations. And Nathan Fielder, the Canadian comic who did that show, is doing a new show on HBO called The Rehearsal. And The Rehearsal is mega cringe, and I love it. Like it's like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off. Whew. So I'm really loving that show. It's utterly painful, but really, really enjoying it. So, what are you all watching? Let me know down below. Is there a show that I should be watching? Obviously, I watch Yellowstone. Obviously, I'm watching Succession. Loving Stranger Things, love, Ozark, all that stuff. But let me know in the comments below. New movies, new shows, because in addition to the swimming world, I love movies, I love film. That's one of the reasons I started my vlog. It's one of the big reasons why I started my vlog, was because I just, being a film nut, I wanted to learn the process of editing and make a little documentary. And then that kind of spiraled into my vlog, which is like kind of grown into this wild thing. So yeah, please let me know down there below, what do you all think? And that'll do it, guys, for our main topics. Once again, thank you so much for all your submissions. Sifting through my email, looking at all the different submissions, I was like, oh my God, like there's so many. So if you want to get a question or a topic on the next episode of The Cody Miller Show, please just fire me an email to codymillershow@gmail.com. Put the topic in the subject line so I know what your question is, and then try to keep it relatively short. As you can see, the graphics, let me throw up a graphic right here. See, the graphics that I've made for the show here so that you can read along can only fit so much text. So please try to keep those emails a little bit shorter so that I can fit it all on the screen. That would be great. Finally, I have had for a very long time a lot of people requesting and asking if I'm ever gonna do virtual coaching, private AMAs or group AMAs, through Zoom, meet and greet stuff online, because most of you all are international, and I'm gonna have a way to do that. I'm going to have something that I'm gonna launch soon that is gonna allow people to basically buy something that gives them the option to participate in a one-on-one Ask Me Anything or coaching session. Essentially, they're gonna be like these little package bundles, and you'll get like a piece of merchandise, like you'll get a code for my merch store so you can buy something, and in addition to that, you'll get like a private coaching lesson where you submit me your race footage or your practice footage of you swimming, and then I'll watch it in real time and review it and critique it and give you my thoughts and ideas on what you could do with your stroke or all those kinds of things. I'm working on a method of making all this happen, and it's gonna launch soon. So I'll get into that. Just if that's something you're interested in, just stay tuned. Yeah, but that'll pretty much do it, guys. Thank you so much. Please leave me your thoughts, comments down below about, how can I make this podcast better? What can I do? Do you have any suggestions? Because this is me just talking to a camera for an hour, which is cool. Like, it's fun, answering questions. I like that. But, I want to make this as best as possible. I promise that in the future, quality is going to get better. Like, my audio is garbage because I couldn't get my main microphone to work on this new camera. Which is why, and it's really echoey in here. My ceiling actually has panels on it to like absorb, there's foam here on the walls that's clearly fallen off. See my duct tape there, my double sticky sided tape. So I'm trying to make the sound in here a little bit better, but yeah, I'm doing my best to try and make this as professional as I can on a shoestring budget, and provide good content for you all, because I do work really hard on my vlogs, right? Like, any given day, I might go to the pool, swim a workout, vlog it, and get home. And it takes me hours to put those things together. It really, really does. And I do work hard on that. And I wanna work hard and get better at this, at providing a good swimming-based, news show for you all. Like, that's what I want to do. And how to do that the best way is something that I'm kind of learning through, something that I'm kind of working on. So yeah. Suggestions are absolutely welcome. I'm not a breaking news guy. That's not something that I plan on doing. Like some of the topics here today, like I knew some like the Regan thing I had a heads up on. I've known Chase and Jay were transferring for a long time, but that's not like, my job is not like, I will let outlets do that. Like Swim can break news, but if there's something that isn't public knowledge, that's not something I'm ever going to talk about. But I will happily give my insight, thoughts, and opinions on certain events, on transfers, on results, whatever. Like, that's what I want this to be, and I want to get better at it, and I hope it's good. So hopefully you enjoyed this. As always, please follow me on social media, just at Cody Miller on Instagram. Please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn that little bell, hit that little bell so you get notified, because sometimes when I drop videos, they just get lost in the algorithm, and we want to make sure that, whenever I drop one, if you want to watch it, you get to watch it. So thank you all so very much. We have merch on the merch store. Check that out at codymillerswim.com. And until my next video, this was the first podcast in the book. in the books. Until my next video, I will see you all later.